the stars fill the evening sky, without a sensing life is passing by. So if you want a solution, my friend.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Raising Children, a program that deals with issues concerning marriage and raising children. I'm your host, Uthman Barry. We have on the line Sister Lycian Roof. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Lycian.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Sister, your experience as an educationalist and a working mother, I believe you have 4 children, is that correct?
That's correct.
Ah, yeah. So, how did you deal personally with the problems of, having your maternal leave and getting back to work? What kind of issues became a problem for you? What advice would you give to women in a similar situation?
I would start by saying that the first thing is to be very clear about what you want to achieve. I don't think you can start a family without having a clear vision where you want to go. And that means that you also have to have your priorities right. So I would say, as a mother myself, I was clear, as a Muslim working mother, I was clear that my priority and my first responsibility would be my own children.
Right.
And you have to remember that in the end, when at a very, very early stage, when the child develops the concept of God and the love of God, the idea that they will have will be for the parents.
Right.
So by the kind of relationship and bonding that you're going to create with your child will have an effect on the whole life. And the first thing will be the concept how God will be perceived by them. So for myself, the first thing was really invest in the relationship and with the bonding for my children.
Right.
You know, there's one question that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
We're often talking about in relationship to this question
Mm-hmm.
in terms of women going to work. We talk about the women, we talk about the children, we don't talk about the husband, generally. So what should the husband be doing? How should the husband be working in this particular relationship to compensate for a woman who is working?
That could be a possibility. You have so many different setups for even couples, for families, and it's really a decision that has to be taken between the husband and the wife. And I don't see why, as a father, it should be less important than mother. I give you an example of somebody in my family, and actually this person lost the father at a very early age. I think he was only 3 months old.
Gosh.
But he became a very successful adult. And when I say successful, it's not only in dunya, but also in terms of values and in terms of ethos in life. And I asked her, and the mother was a working mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked this person, but how did you do that? And he said, the vision, I imagine the vision that my father had for me. And that puts high expectations for me, and I always try to achieve these values. So sometimes it's not necessarily the time you spend with your child, but really the vision you've managed to share with your child. That will be a factor of success in life for them.
How do you manage yourself? Because you're running a big school yourself.
Yeah.
You can't have a lot of time. You must reach home in a state of exhaustion.
And really, I say for myself, my personal experience, I took some time off, and I would say some years off when I had the children, because
Right.
I considered that was really at the first years are really essential to create this bond with your children. And I believe now my children are, the youngest is 12, the oldest is 19 now. And I still have I believe the relationship that I have with them is due to the fact that I really invested time with them when they were small. And sincerely, it depends, of course, what kind of setup you have around you, how much your family can support you, how much the community can support you. That time I was in the West, no Islamic schools around me, and having state schools and no family support, I think I was doomed to failure if I had just not taken this time off for them. And I don't regret one single minute that I spent with them when they were young.
How much time did you take, and how much time would you recommend for a mother on an average before she goes back to work?
I think you can't be dogmatic when it comes to that. It really depends on the support you have. I have sisters who have stopped only for a few months, but because they had their mothers with them, they had the support, and it was fine for them. But I say, if you are alone and you are on top of that, you're not in an environment that is really supportive in terms of Islamic values or in terms of values, then I believe that Islam refers to the 7 first years of the life that are very formative. You have lots of psychologists who refer to the first 6 years of life, and I would say I can't obviously give any recommendations to that, but I would say at least the first 3-4 years of life are essential for a child to feel that he's the center of attention. So he feels that for my parents, I am the priority. And how can we instill in a child the fact that Allah loves you if we made the child understand that, well, I have more important things to deal with, I have no time for you, and I'm tired now, and go and play somewhere else.
That's a very good point, yes. And of course, it's one of the pitfalls of the situation when both parents are working, is that often they don't feel they have enough energy to deal with frisky little children when they get home after a hard day.
Exactly. And I would say when it comes to quality time, one essential skill that you need to have for quality time is listening skills, empathy, being able to really not just, okay, you've done your homework, you've learned the surahs, what you've done, okay, you've done that, okay, I'm fine. No, it's really listening to what they might have to tell you. And if they see that you're half listening or 20% listening, obviously they're not going to share that with you, and they'll keep that for themselves. And then once they realize that they don't communicate with me anymore, yes, but because you didn't make them feel that they could communicate with you.
Okay, there's one thing also we want to look at in relationship to these things. We hear about the things which people say parents should be doing. Okay, what kinds of institutions or organizations are you aware of that are in existence to teach parents these particular things?
Yeah, I can't refer to, in the Islamic school I work at, we've organized some parental courses for mothers and fathers with local organization psychologists, and it's really something that a lot is about support mother to mother, and I think we don't give enough importance to this kind of support. You don't have a school or a university to become an effective parent. It's something you have to learn on the job. And the more sharing you can have with others who've been through that, the less mistakes you will do. And I'm not saying that, I think we all do mistakes. But one thing that I think the children, you can't cheat with them. You have to be true. If you do a mistake, you tell them that you did a mistake. If you realize that you haven't been able to listen to them, or you have listened to them, then you have to apologize for that and then start again. They're forgiving. They're the most forgiving people on earth, I would say, because they have so much hope for you. So they will give you this chance, but you have to take it.
You see, for example, the Middle East, for example, probably has per capita at least the youngest the largest number of the youngest people in the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also, we probably have still the youngest group of people who get married.
Yeah.
Okay, you still have girls in some societies who get married at 14 or 15 years old. You still have a few societies where boys get married as teenagers.
Yeah.
It's not as common as it used to be, but still happening. Other places in the world, you don't find that.
Yeah.
So this is what we're saying about the importance of teaching these skills. In the traditional societies, which were tribal societies, these things were passed down from father to son and from mother to daughter. Okay, today in the society as it has changed, that is no longer happening.
Yeah.
As it used to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this is what I was saying in relationship to these particular things relating to children and working, all these kind of things. Is there any particular program that you heard of, for example, in a school? We're in a class, for example, they're teaching young women about being a mother. They're teaching young men about being a father.
I mean, that's a very good question, and it's really something that we are ourselves becoming more and more aware of. Now we have students age 16, 17, and you can see now, because they've been
C'est
in a
suffit,
completely
Sarah.
different...
C'est suffit.
Sorry?
We're going to make a little time for break now.
Okay,
And
and we'll
when
come
we
back
get
to
back, we'll continue on this fascinating
Okay.
subject. As I said, short break. When we get back, we'll continue about this problem of, binding with children or whatever. Assalamu alaikum.
Like every sunrise that brings forth each day.
Analyze your mistakes.
Have you ever tried to overcome your anger?
Realize your weakness.
Do you find it difficult to control your tongue?
Diagnose your moral sickness.
Have you ever felt that your intentions are corrupt?
Learn the steps essential to nourish our souls in purification of the soul. Every Thursday at 11:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV. Marriage or divorce?
What's Islamic ruling?
Nikah.
Love book.
Solution or problem? Heaven or hell?
There is a misconception.
You choose. Beauty, wealth, family status, virtue. Decide what you want. Decide your choice. Be sad or be happy. It's your choice. Join Dr. Zakir Naik in Better Half or Bitter Half every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 9:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV. The month of fasting, the month of spiritual development, the month of self-control, the month of monitoring one's own self, the month of offering Taraweeh. Ramadan. Rejoice Ramadan round the year. Join in to witness the congregational prayers of Taraweeh recorded from Medina, led by Imam Sheikh Ali bin Abdul Rahman Al-Hudayfi, Imam Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Qasim, Imam Sheikh Hussain Al-Sheikh, Imam Sheikh Salah Al-Budair. Taraweeh, next on Peace TV.
Like every sunrise that brings forth each day.
Assalamu alaikum. We're back from the break and we'd like to join Sister Lucienne Ruth once more. We've been talking about children and how to deal with them.
You have lots of psychologists who refer to the first 6 years of life, and I would say I can't obviously give any recommendations to that, but I would say at least the first 3-4 years of life are essential for a child to feel that he's the center of attention. So he feels that for my parents, I am the priority. And how can we instill in a child the fact that Allah loves you if we made the child understand that, well, I have more important things to deal with. I have no time for you, and I'm tired now and go and play somewhere else.
That's a very good point, yes. And of course, it's one of the pitfalls of the situation when both parents are working, is that often they don't feel they have enough energy to deal with frisky little children when they get home after a hard day.
Exactly. And I would say when it comes to quality time, one essential skill that you need to have for quality time is listening skills, empathy, being able to really not just, okay, you've done your homework, you've learned the surahs, what you've done, okay, you've done that, okay, I'm fine. No, it's really listening to what they might have to tell you. And if they see that you're half listening or 20% listening, obviously they're not going to share that with you, and they'll keep that for themselves. And then once they realize that they don't communicate with me anymore, but yes, but because you didn't make them feel that they could communicate with you.
Okay, there's one thing also we want to look at in relationship to these things. We hear about the things which people say parents should be doing, okay? what kinds of institutions or organizations are you aware of that are in existence to teach parents these particular things?
Yeah, I mean, I can't refer to, we, in the school, in the Islamic school I work at, we've organized some parental courses for mothers and fathers with local organization, psychologists, and it's really something that you, and it's a lot is about support mother to mother, and I think we don't give enough importance to this kind of support. You don't have a school or a university to become an effective parent. It's something you have to learn on the job. And the more sharing you can have with others who've been through that, the less mistakes you will do. And I'm not saying that, I think we all do mistakes. But one thing that I think the children, you can't cheat with them. You know, you have to be true. If you do a mistake, you tell them that you did a mistake. If you realize that you haven't been able to listen to them, or you have listened to them, then you have to apologize for that and then start again. They're forgiving. They're the most forgiving people on earth, I would say, because they have so much hope for you. So they will give you this chance, but you have to take it.
You see, for example, the Middle East, for example, probably has per capita at least the youngest the largest number of the youngest people in the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also, we probably have still the youngest group of people who get married.
Yeah.
Okay, you still have girls in some societies who get married at 14 or 15 years old. You still have a few societies where boys get married as teenagers.
Yeah.
It's not as common as it used to be, but still happening. Other places in the world you don't find that.
Yeah.
So this is what we're saying about the importance of teaching these skills. In the traditional societies, which were tribal societies, these things were passed down from father to son and from mother to daughter. Okay, today in the society as it has changed, that is no longer happening as it used to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this is what I was saying in relationship to these particular things relating to children and working, all these kind of things. Is there any particular program that you heard of, for example, in a school? We're in a class, for example, they're teaching young women about being a mother. They're teaching young men about being a father.
I mean, that's a very good question, and it's really something that we are ourselves becoming more and more aware of. Now we have students age 16, 17, and you can see now, because they've been in a completely different...
Sophie. Sister, can you tell us a little more about your opinion on this?
We've discussed about the in the past, children had role models in their children, and they could easily just replicate what was being done and what they had seen. Now it's a completely different situation right now. Obviously, I can only talk about this part of the Middle East because I have no experience in other parts. But I've read in an article once that fathers, in particular, have an age of 7 minutes with their children per day.
How long?
7 minutes.
7 minutes only?
7 minutes. And so I can't really say if this was exact or not, but what I think we can say, because I can see that with a lot of the families that I know here, fathers are very, very busy. And obviously this role model as a father is absent for a lot of children.
It's not only that they're busy, sisters, that's often they prefer to sit and drink coffee or tea with their friends until late.
Well, or they have to work very hard. They might have two jobs because of the also financial constraints nowadays. The fact is that as a school, what can we to try to remedy or at least to decrease the impact that can have on these children?
So what do you suggest?
Sorry?
What do you suggest?
What we are trying to do at the school is having, first of all, being very selective in the teachers that we have, because they will be role models for the students. And the second thing, you can't just stick to one curriculum, whereas you know that they're going to face many, many challenges just a few years after they leave, or even maybe not a few years, but maybe 1 year after they leave school, and they might marry. And how do we prepare them for that? And this is something that we are tackling by trying to develop a program for them. And you see the rate of divorces in Dubai nowadays, which is very, very high. So it's another aspect of it. And you have organizations like the Family Council
But in the school, do you teach?
Sorry?
Do you teach parenting? Do you have anything to deal with parenting? Do you have anything to do with what we call life? Now they have what they call life skills.
Life skills. This is what we're trying to do, inviting different speakers to the students and sharing with them and trying to. It's really difficult because also it's not something that might come quickly for them. They don't really seem to really realize that it's not that far and they have to be ready for that. So it's quite a challenge. And what we're trying to do as well is have these courses for parents to help them realize that we have to, it's not like before where, generation to generation would have the same kind of pattern. Now it's a completely different pattern. And the children spend more time behind the computer than with their parents most of the time.
I don't know how much you can change that at this particular time. But what we're saying is that, of course, many of the children, as you said, are not getting it at home. So that would put part of the responsibility in the educational system. So the educators should be realizing this, understands, these young people, okay, we're graduating out of our institution academically, and they don't have the skills that they need for parenting and doing other things in the society. So, myself and particularly myself and Brother Uthman, we've been doing this and actually been talking to people about this for a very long time. And now we've seen a lot of young people who are themselves parents, who they were just small children a few years ago. And we see the continuation of this. So, I mean, we're very much in favor of this, and anytime in any of the schools, we go to the schools, anyone who wants, we're ready to come. And, of course, this particular program, of course, is dealing with these kinds of issues to make people aware and conscious of all of the kinds of issues that people are dealing with trying to raise their children today.
So I think the main message, if there is one message that we really, parents and future parents should get, is that investing time, family time, essential, even more nowadays than before.
There's no question about that because of all the other things to attract children's attention. But at the same time, it's also, as you mentioned, I think in the society, and particularly in the Middle East, there are not enough, we can't necessarily say this in the Emirates, but in other places you will hear people say there are not enough activities that are organized for families and specifically orientated towards families. There are thousands of activities organized around taking people's money. As example, consumerism is a very big thing. But in terms of the things that will unify the family and simply teach some basic skills for our young people, this we're wanting in this area. So people in education is very important for them to impart this to these young people and to attempt to educate the parents if possible. And when possible.
I agree. There's a lot to do in that extent.
Sister, are you with us?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. So, Tahir, anything more you want to add?
Well, I think that, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to have this opportunity and to attempt to do the things we can collectively. And if all of us do our part, number one as parents and seeing these children as our children, then we will come together and face those issues, whatever they might be, and use also the people who are professionals, their skills and abilities, and to try to solve these particular situations that particularly young people find themselves facing today.
I wanted to ask you, sister, is there a lot of interaction between Islamic schools here? I mean, are you in touch with each other? Do you have quiz competitions? Do you play sports against each other? Do you compare notes, or are you competitors?
In these parts of the world, because these Islamic schools are actually private organizations, so there is competition. However, more and more, for instance, we organize Islamic competitions between the different students, obviously sports competitions, but we also more and more share some training together. So it's something that is not, especially coming from the West, where schools exchange a lot in terms of training, even in terms of teachers, of curriculums, or of planning. And in here, it's not to that level. But I would say that it's going in the right direction.
Right. There's an improvement.
Yes, definitely.
What kind of games do you teach at your school?
What kind of?
Games, physical training.
It's something we believe in, and physical activity is very important. And basically nowadays, if you don't have physical activities, you're behind a screen. That's what's happening. So we organize after-school clubs with, soccer is the definite
It's a national game.
Selection, yes. They also have now, the girls have been having for 5 weeks now, inter-school competition in basketball. We have a swimming competition every year. So we're trying, we have lots of activities, and that was a vision of the owner to provide the facilities. So we have a big multi-purpose hall where they can have, and lots of physical activities indoors, because the problem is the weather.
Yes, of course. It's got to be indoors, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, sister, for
You're welcome.
giving us the benefit of all your experience and knowledge. It's been very interesting. And you too, dear viewers, please join us again in the near future. I'm your host, Uthman Barry. We've been listening to Tahir Khalid and Lysian Roof, and we hope, inshallah, you've enjoyed the program, and we look forward to your company in the future. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Like every sunrise that brings forth each day, brings new meaning, new hope, a new way. Such is the blessing bestowed upon us. Every hardship and heartache